Episode 5, Echoes of Madness. The floorboards creaked behind my back. I was not alone. I turned around sharply, staring into the dense darkness. The pale light of the moon filtering through the library's small window allowed me to see the outlines of the objects in the room. I could see that there was no one else there but me. In a futile attempt to find my matches, I began nervously feeling the floor around me. Then it occurred to me, did I bring them with me at all? Could it have been that I left them in the hallway since I was in a hurry? Bloody hell. I took a deep breath, trying to regain my composure. The house is settling. That's why it creaks. I stood up, took a few steps towards the door. As much as I wanted to learn more, this atmosphere wasn't helping. I was surely going to feel more at ease if I came back to read when daylight came. I grabbed the door handle and pulled on it, but it didn't budge. It was locked. Without saying a word, I pulled on it a few more times, trying harder and harder. What the hell? Maybe the handle is broken? Another creak sounded behind my back. I turned around slowly and my heart skipped a beat. A male silhouette stood right in front of the window, dark, threatening, and revolting. Moonlight was shining behind his frightening outline. The man just stood there, his shoulders hunched, but I felt his gaze on me and I heard his hoarse, heavy breathing. I narrowed my eyes and tried to get a good look at his face, despite fear twisting my gut. Oh my god. The person in front of me, in front of the window, was Amir, the one that was found dead this morning. He was beheaded, drained of his blood, stripped, thrown in the street, yet he was standing in front of me right now as something else. His head was back in place, his body and face were so deformed that he didn't even look human at all. I didn't even know how I recognized him, but it was definitely Amir. He hissed, his face twisted in grimace. A sliver of light fell on him, and I saw that he was severely disfigured. His eyes were glassy, lifeless, but they were staring right at me. I couldn't take it anymore, so I looked down at the floor. That's when I noticed something even stranger. The dead man wasn't touching the floor, but rather he was hovering a few inches above it. His body did not seem to be casting any shadow. This sight terrified me so much that I suddenly felt numb and slowly slid down the wall. This is not real. It can't be. I had no idea what to do or where to run. He didn't move much, but his very presence filled me with an unimaginable terror. Why? Why am I seeing this again? A guess flashed through my mind. I suddenly remembered Santa's words. She said that I can see more than others, that I can peek behind the veil, like the great Bahamans who have a connection to the other world. You know more because you told Santa about your vision. The dead man seemed to know what I was thinking. His ugly mouth curled up into a smile. Knowing, seeing, wise, or naive. Don't think madness is knowledge. He let out a raspy laugh. Stupid. His half-whispered voice was a combination of wheezing and snarling. It made my skin crawl. Are you asking yourself a question? I know the answer. The dead man stirred and pressed himself against the wall, holding my breath. His fingers were half clenched, but like they were in the alley in the morning, but they were now trembling. I felt sick. Visions, premonitions. You are very high opinion of yourself. This isn't it. This is different. His dry, thin lips twisted into a sneer. Your grandmother is insane. Your mother is insane. And you will go insane. A raspy, piercing laugh filled the room. Almost like a death rattle. I could smell decomposition. Grandma? Mom? The dead man collapsed to his knees, his bones crunching loudly. With thin, trembling hands, he reached out to me. I'm gonna go with defend myself. I snatched the brass candlestick from the table next to me and threw it at the dead man. The candlestick hit the bookshelf and crashed to the floor. I missed. Not that I expected otherwise, considering I was shaking all over. Amir didn't touch me. He seemed to have lost interest in me. His eyes rolled back. With one hand, he grabbed his own hair and pulled his head back. Okay. In his other hand, a dagger gleamed. This whole universe was born by you. This world was created by you. He put the blade to his throat. In the end, you always devour it. The dead man stuck the dagger into his throat, slowly cut it open, drawing a smile on his thin, dark skin. You manifest this destructive force. It's a great honor to fall victim to... Amir's mouth gurgled instead of speaking, as black blood spurted from the slit on his throat. The dead guy jerked forward, twitched, and slid down without touching the floor. Panic washed over me, a tornado of conflicting emotions sweeping over my mind. Curling up into a ball, I closed my eyes. I quietly whimpered. I felt exhausted, frightened, and utterly disheartened. I could still see the dead man slitting his throat right in front of me. Suddenly, a cold, strong hand grabbed my hair from behind and forcefully yanked it. My head was thrown back like Amir's when he decapitated himself. I froze in place, my eyes wide open. The library at night suddenly reappeared before me, barely illuminated by my candle. There was not even a drop of black blood on the floor, even though it was splattered everywhere just a moment ago. There wasn't any on my face either. I looked around confused as I struggled to stand back on my shaky legs. The only thing that had changed in the library was me. Drenched in sweat, pale, shaking in horror, I hesitantly touched the hair on the back of my head. They were disheveled. Someone really did touch me just now. I grabbed the door handle, gave it an immediately, and opened the door. The corridor was bright. As the chandeliers were on, I looked around absent-mindedly. The house was still empty. I was alone. I didn't have any energy left. I decided to take a shower and go to bed right away. It felt like I'd been smacked in the head, and it left me disoriented. After a hot shower, I changed into my dry pajamas and collapsed on the bed exhausted. I didn't want to turn off the light. I wasn't ready to plunge back into darkness. I closed my eyes, but I couldn't fall asleep. My thoughts were in a whirl. Maybe this is truly it, the answer to everything. What visions was he talking about? It's pretty obvious my grandmother has been out of it for a long time. She's been delirious for many years now. That's why she couldn't get custody of my younger brother when my mother disappeared, or left us. So I had to get custody of him. It's hereditary. I'm going insane too. Just like the dead man said, my grandmother went mad. Something was wrong with my mother, and now it's my turn. And if he's just a figment of my imagination, my subconscious is speaking to me saying, Amala, you're insane. Even the nonsense he said before slitting his throat. It's very similar to what Grandma mutters when she's delirious. Maybe I will soon be like that too. I sat on the bed looking towards the hallway. Santa spoke about the Brahmins, the arrogant ones, but this doesn't seem to be the case. My goodness, is it possible that I will soon be like my grandmother, Indira? I'll call Kieran and find out how he's doing. Since the power was back on, I could now use the landline. The timing of the call was perfect. Kieran should have just returned home after basketball practice. I dialed the number and started listening to the ringing tones. My brother didn't answer the phone right away, but the but soon I heard his gentle voice. "Hello, Khan's home speaking." "Karen, it's me. How are you?" "Oh, my prodigal sister. I'm fine. Coach said that my chances of becoming the team captain are pretty good." "I'm so happy for you." It was good to hear something so simple, so mundane, unrelated to the thing that I was experiencing. Nevertheless, I couldn't ignore what was troubling me. "I want to ask you something." "I didn't throw any parties at home, I swear." "God, that's not what I meant, but well done." "Then what?" "How's Grandma doing?" "She's fine, as usual." "Probably." "Probably?" "You know how she is? She talks nonsense, stares at the wall, or reads. Last few days, she's been talking my ear off with her nonsense. It's so annoying." "Karen, don't you dare talk about Grandma in Indira like that." I'm sorry. But she's been non-stop muttering lately. You can't even talk about the weather with her or anything else. Like she's absorbed in her nonsense." "What exactly is she saying?" "I can't quite make out a lot of it. She almost always switches on Bengali or Sanskrit, and I'm not good with our language yet. Something about time, conflict, some kind of black tantras or something like that. I can't really understand. I don't really care about what she's saying, Mom used to always talk to her, remember?" "Karen, that's not possible now." "I know, but I don't understand. Why did Mom leave?" "Karen has been barely mentioned Mom since she left. For the first few months, he kept asking me about her, but then he closed himself off. This is the first time in a long time he's talking to me about Mom." "Maybe you know something about her, but you don't want to tell me the truth?" "Honey, I really don't know anything. I think... okay, so one day your mother just walks out. Never comes back. I don't give a shit. She needs to tell us her reasons, otherwise she abandoned us. You're old enough to know that. She didn't leave a note or say goodbye. Maybe she got tired of everything and just left us." "How's that possible? Could Mom really do that?" "I don't know, but I have no reason to think otherwise." "I see. You're trying to face the truth. By the way, Yasmin, the cheerleader girl? I think she, He started talking about school, clearly trying to change the subject. I listened to it for a little while longer, wanting to forget about what had just happened in the library, but then my mind went back to it, drowning out all of his words. What did he say about Grandma? Time tantras, some kind of nonsense? What else did I expect? She's been like this for many years. I interrupted my brother. "Kieran, I'm so sorry. I have to go. You'll tell me the rest of your story next time, okay?" "Ah, it's okay. You must have a ton of work. I'll tell you about it when I see you." "Then go do your homework. Love you." "Me too. Bye." I felt a lump in my throat as I hung up the phone. I can't lose my mind like Grandma. I need to take care of Kieran. He can't lose me too. I'd give anything just to stay sane. Maybe I need some kind of medication, but how can I even fight this if it's hereditary? God, I can't even believe I'm even thinking about it. I am in a foreign country, in someone else's house, cut off from my family, going crazy. How much worse can it get? I can't tell anyone about this. It feels like I've never been this lonely. I suddenly thought about Killian. Maybe he could help me or at least hear me out. Why did I immediately think of him? I don't know myself. He started to trust Killian. I slowly walked back to my room with only one thing in mind, to fall asleep and shut out the outside world for several hours. I soon plunged into a welcome oblivion. The morning sun filled the room with light. I opened my eyes, still feeling exhausted. I really needed to keep it together, so I forced myself to get out of bed and freshen up. Don't get discouraged, Amala. If you want something to change, you have to work for it. Before going downstairs for breakfast, I decided to make myself presentable. I would hope so, or the dad's gonna get angry, and so will the wife. Exquisite suit. Everyday outfit. So we've got unusual. Okay. I dig the exquisite. Sure, why not? It's weird how none of the 80s outfits from back then are even a choice. I'm just saying. It's more pleasant to work if you look good doing it. Updo, messy curls, needy ponytail. I'll just leave it with messy curls. I gathered my thoughts and went downstairs. Felt like I hadn't seen the Cahans in Santa for ages. Before heading to breakfast, I called the hotel and asked for my colleagues to meet me at the embassy today. I wanted to discuss what I learned from Lakshman and ask Lima about the intricacies of multiple murder cases. The aroma of freshly baked Batura bread, which Santa had already placed on the table, filled the room. When I entered the dining room, the maid was holding a teapot of masala chai and was about to serve tea. "Good morning, Miss Khan." There wasn't even a hint of a smile on the girl's serene face. "Good morning, Santa, Miss Khan, Mr. Khan." I nodded to my host. Aryan was already finishing his breakfast as per tradition. Indian women often waited for the man to finish his meal before sitting down at the table. Really, I didn't know that. Not every family followed this rule, but according to my observations, Priyanka didn't start having breakfast until Aryan finished his. "Good morning, my dear."
"Good morning, Amala. Haven't seen you around lately. You must be swamped with work."
"Yes, I have a lot to do right now."
"Don't stress yourself too much. You're young. At your age, you must have also other interests. Isn't that right, Sana?"
"Indeed, sir." The man of the house got up from the table, looking tenderly at his wife.
"Have a nice day, Meridil. The invoices are in the office. Amala, have a nice day too. Sana, please tell the cook to start dinner early."
He left the dining room, followed by Priyanka's gaze.
"Amala, sit down and have some breakfast. Have you eaten at all yesterday?"
"I don't remember, I was busy."
"That won't do. Sana, give her some bread and the rest of the rice. Oh, and ask the cook if there's anything left over from dinner."
"Miss Khan."
"Drink your tea, girl. I will not let you lose weight while you're here."
I smiled softly as I watched Santa fill my cup with tea and then leave for the kitchen.
"What did I tell you? You won't get a good complexion if you're hungry. Who will want a gaunt wife?"
"Miss Khan, I'm 25 years old. I work 7 days a week. Being gaunt is the least of my problems."
"Oh, girl, look at you. Your waist is so thin, your hips are so round, and your hair is simply wonderful. You've got so much beauty coming from your Indian blood, and you want hunger to ruin it all."
I decided to change the subject when Santa entered the dining room again with the tray in her hands. "Did you come home late yesterday?" I saw Santa looking at me.
"Oh, that, yes. We have wonderful news. Yesterday we arranged to marry off Sana to a nice man."
"I beg your pardon?" Without a word, Santa put my breakfast in front of me and then began clearing up Aryan's plates.
"She's old enough. By the time I was 19, I was already married."
"Shouldn't her family be taking care of it?"
"If Sana had a family, then by all means, but we took her in as an orphan."
Local customs. I mean, I don't agree. Well, I mean, she is 19, right? Or so I'm guessing by, her statement. I mean, if you're in a foreign land, right, you do have to respect their customs. Right? Listen, I know America wants to deliver freedom everywhere they go, but I'm sorry, America is literally the twinkle of a lot of countries' eye. Like, they weren't even around. I'm gonna keep silent. I said nothing, looking at Santa. I didn't want to impose my views on other people who live by their own rules, and it was completely a different society. If that's the way they do things here, then that's their business. My opinion was different, but I didn't want to seem rude.
"Sure, we could have left Sana on the street, but when her parents died. But we have kind hearts. We wanted to help her. She couldn't stay out there on her own. Someone has to look after a woman. She always depends on someone. First on her father, and then on her husband, and finally on her son.
That's weird.
Weird?
I think women can take care of themselves. There's no need for supervisors.
No, unity is sacred for us. The gods told us so. Shakti and Shiva are inseparable, my dear. This is why they stick together. What's masculine energy without feminine energy? A dead vessel, a lifeless body. Shakti feels Shiva like fresh water feels a well.
The woman chuckled, narrowing her brown eyes.
Learn to look deeper, and you'll understand that being united with a man is not about submission, but about power.
I silently looked at Priyanka, who just shrugged.
Maybe you really are too young for marriage.
I've been meaning to ask you, what's your religious denomination?
Shaivism, like most people in Calcutta.
I would have guessed something else. I started eating breakfast, processing what I had just heard. Santa was about to get married, and I couldn't wait to talk to her about it. Despite everything, the maid looked serene and calm as usual.
By the way, Amala dear, next time please don't make such a mess in the library. Some books there are very expensive.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Miss Kahan. I was looking for something. Do you have anything specific on the topic of Hinduism? The woman slightly shook her head, her lips touching the teacup.
No, but you can find tantric texts at the National Library of India, I think. As for other religious texts, I don't even know.
Is it here in Calcutta? The library, I mean.
Yes. However, if you're looking for something very specific, then it's worth talking to the local Brahmins. They read the Vedas every day and are very good at it. If you have a question for the gods, the Brahmins are their mouths.
That's right. And I can also ask them about my visions and whether the Brahmins have them as well right now, and how they experience them. Maybe I'm not going crazy, and maybe that you're seeing the same thing. After finishing breakfast and thanking Miss Kahan and said goodbye to Santa, it was getting late and I had to get to the embassy. A bright, spacious room met me with silence. A few days ago, when I first walked in here, the entire task force greeted me. Today, the room was completely empty. I'm the first one here. I walked over to the large oak table, gently ran my hand along its smooth surface. In contrast to the sweltering midday heat, the air was cool here. The decor reminded me of home, of London. I had only a few days earlier, but I already missed it. With each passing day, however, I was growing more and more used to India. A few more weeks, and I was going to feel at home here. The doors behind my back creaked open. I turned around and saw my colleagues walking in. Good afternoon, Miss Khan.
Hi, Amala.
Good afternoon. Where's Mr. Rose?
He's in the hallway talking to someone.
Did you, call us here?
Yes.
I have something to tell you. It's about our work. Killian and Lima looked at each other, but said nothing. They sat down at the table, waiting for Mr. Rose. At some point, they looked at me. Lima raised her eyebrows.
Amala, you look amazing, both in the sari and in regular clothes.
Yes, we got that yesterday. Killian said nothing, but his gaze spoke volumes.
Thank you. I guess I need to ask you for some pointers. There must be a secret to looking so good.
I laughed. You look great just the way you are. A few minutes later, Mr. Ratan appeared in the meeting room. You know how to get people's attention. Hello, Miss Khan. Good afternoon. Our team leader looked puzzled and slightly worried. He pursed his lips, walking past me to the center of the room, and then turned to face everyone. Bad news. I received a fax from London. Mr. Rose's voice didn't sound quite as impatient and arrogant as usual. The lab results from the diplomat's room are ready. We took scrapings from the closet doors, blood, skin, tissue left behind of the scratchings. Try saying this word 3 times fast. Dactyloscopy revealed it was Hayes. There are his fingerprints everywhere. A tense silence fell upon the conference room. We all looked at each other, speechless. That was to be expected. if all the evidence collected belongs to Mr. Hayes, then we know he was attacked. Someone attacked him, and he was clearly trying to fight them off. I tried to collect my thoughts and needed to organize all the information in my head. If you put the puzzle pieces together, the resulting image is rather grim. I need to put my thoughts into words and link together all that happened so far. Explain everything, discuss it together. Discuss it together would have worked, but okay. I think I might have a couple of ideas. Please, Miss Khan, you have our attention. I saw that smug smirk. Okay, so... Our diplomat came here on some special mission. We haven't had the honor to find out what that was yet. I glanced at Mr. Rose, he smirked at me. Go on. While doing his job, Hayes got caught up in something dodgy. We don't know what that happened, but we do know that someone started stalking him. It made him paranoid. He always kept his hotel room windows closed and made sure to keep track of his belongings. He had been jittery lately. Every night he demanded that the hotel manager send security to his room. It was always very hot and stuffy in his room. He never opened the windows to let the air in. He only ordered room service and always asked for the same waiter. Otherwise, he refused dinner. The gentleman demanded that I only deliver his meals. He did not let me into the room. He felt he was in constant danger, and he was, and someone got into the room. What happened there, how it all went down, we don't know. But we do know that Hayes hid in the closet, and when they pulled him out of there... He was obsessively... How obsessively did he have to scratch the door up to rip a nail? He put up a hell of a fight. Maybe he felt such primal fear that it's hard for us to even imagine it. And then he went missing. Yes, and everything in the room remained untouched. His documents, belongings. But some pages of his diary were ripped off, almost as if something particularly important was written there. And it was every third page, too, as if it was like a scheduled appointment or something he ran into. Violence, paranoia, documents left behind, everything is telling us that something terrible happened to him. Kidnapping a foreigner from an upscale hotel is not an everyday crime. This is a serious incident, and that's not all. I know what you're hinting at. Yes, that this is all connected to the ritual murder in the alley, where things also look strange. A lot there seem to have been done for specific reasons. Both crimes carry great risks. Your colleagues were impressed by your arguments. Both crimes are unique, unlike any other. You can draw your own conclusions. A British diplomat is kidnapped from an upscale hotel. Shortly after, the headless corpse of a merchant is found near the British embassy. Does this sound like a coincidence to you? No. Saying this out loud makes the connection seem really obvious. Yes, I agree. But the problem is we don't have direct evidence of this connection. But we do. This isn't enough for a report to our superiors, though. Killian rubbed his neck wearily and winced. Everyone, let's move to the embassy canteen and have some coffee. Oh, God, coffee, yes, please. We'll work better that way. I'll also explain something to you on the way, Amala. He said coffee, I'm taking a sip. No one objected. Anticipating a difficult day, only a strong drink was going to help us cope with this. We were still on the clock, and so we could only drink coffee. That's the best kind of drink, damn it. Prove me wrong. We took a small table, settling down by the window. Lima began making drinks with a coffee machine while still listening to our conversation and occasionally chiming in. Let me help you, Miss Berg. Mr. Rose remained seated at the table, and Killian turned to me. To file a report with headquarters and leave Calcutta, we need strong evidence that that something happened to him. Our superiors need a clear answer, Amala, what, where, and when it happened. I agree that everything must be connected to the ritual murder, but now we need to prove it. Then we'll work in the direction and find evidence of the direct connection. Speaking of work... What was the meeting for, Miss Khan? Do you have any new information? Yes, dearie, I've got new information, all right. Yes, let's change the subject for a while. Lima and Ratan brought everyone coffee. It's espresso. It's been so long. I don't have an espresso machine. Willing to buy. Thank you. I took a sip of bitter coffee and thought, how can I start this conversation? Rose hid from us the fact that there were other victims before Amir. Given the new circumstances, this changes the situation dramatically. I will speak honestly, but with restraint, gently and carefully, in a very displeased tone, politely and with dignity. No, if you're gonna be a woman entering a man's world... Mr. Rose, I must speak my mind. You probably didn't want us to reveal this, but the cat's out of the bag now. Since Mr. Rose didn't want to tell us about this, I will do so myself. You were straightforward but calm. Your colleagues appreciated this approach. I stood up from the table and looked around at all my colleagues, intending to tell them everything. Don't feel sorry for Rose. He shouldn't have been silent about this. I don't care if this ruins our relationship. What relationship? I'm working here, and I have no desire to cover his ass. Yesterday's ritual murder was not the first. This has happened before. What? My colleagues cast glances at Mr. Rose, who immediately scowled. Yep. Kiss my ass, I'll bend over so you can. Our esteemed leader can explain to us later why he chose to withhold such information. But for now, I think we need to decide what to do next. Raton watched us, sitting at the table with his arms crossed. His face was impassive, as if he was just an observer. Amala, let's get things straight first. Where did you get this information from? How trustworthy is your source? Before we point fingers at anyone, we must be sure this is the truth. Gillian looked at me with a serious expression. Yes, Miss Khan. Please do share your source with us. Should I tell them about Lakshman? Yeah, I'll tell them. They'll believe me if I reveal my source. One of the police officers at the crime scene shared this information with me. His name was Lakshman. Why do you believe him? He spoke honestly and was very nervous about it. I don't think he had any reason to lie. He didn't give me any specific information other than the victim was not the only one. How many victims are we talking about? That he didn't say. So, you don't have any information at all? It's precisely for the reason I am in no rush to tell you that the victim was probably not the first one. The Indian police are not yet aware of how many have actually been killed. Maybe he was really the first. My colleagues looked at each other, again clearly unhappy. The path of high respect. I think that Amala is saying makes sense. Yeah, she's already proven herself to be an excellent expert. Yep. I apologize for interfering, but I agree that Mala is worthy of trust and respect. Whoa, I didn't expect that. That's because he's a strong, silent type who sits there and observes and listens and only opens his mouth when he needs to. We have a lot in common. Thank you for your trust, everyone. Together it will be much easier for us to work on this case. Thank you, Amala, for finding out this information for us. It may be very important. Let's discuss everything. Let's figure it out. We found out where Amala got this information from, now moving on. How many victims are we possibly talking about? How come the Indian police think that this murder is not the first of its kind, yet they cannot say exactly how many before it? I shrugged. The officer said they couldn't put the puzzle together. They have no experience with multiple murders. Especially ritual murders, you forgot to include that. Serial. I beg your pardon? More than 3 murders in a row are considered serial murders. It's new criminology term, introduced 6 years ago. What if there are only 2? I think we need to determine the exact number we're dealing with before moving on. And how can we find that out? We need to sift through all the recent reports about murders in Calcutta. The details are important, but by looking at them, we will be able to link the incidents together. We need to determine the personal signature of the killer, his modus operandi. For example, in our case, they are ritual symbols and decapitation. Killian looked at Lima with respect, clearly appreciating her knowledge. I was also pleased to know that a real professional was working with us. During our conversation, Raton only listened but didn't interfere. He looked deep in thought now. Having finished our drinks, we got up from the table and left the canteen together. I'll call London and talk to our superiors. Then I'll call the Indian police, ask for access to the archive. Mr. Vaish, will you help me?
Certainly.
If we're done here, I'm gonna go. I need to mull over everything we discussed. The team leader said his goodbyes and headed down the hallway. Rattan allowed himself to cast a disapproving glance in his direction. It's because it's not a real man. It's a pissant. He's a desk jockey. Killian approached me. I don't like Mr. Rose at all. Well done, Amala. To be honest, I didn't expect that from you, but you pleasantly surprised me. When I called headquarters and asked about you, they told me that someone vouched for you. I thought that someone wanted to push their inexperienced daughter up the career ladder. Excuse me? I won't go into details, I don't think I have the right to talk about it, but you do have a sharp mind, which is nice. Oh, blimey. You truly know how to compliment people, Captain Lightwood. I don't even know whether I should feel offended or happy. Killian put his hands in his pockets and shrugged. Just saying. I grinned, looking into Killian's eyes. Then I'm just gonna say this. The next time you think of another one of your compliments, keep it to yourself. Yep. He didn't say anything, taken aback. Otherwise, I'll also start voicing my thoughts about you, and you'll not like all of them. I got it, Amala. Don't bite me, I'm just not very good at giving compliments. Alright, I'm gonna go as well. I want to read about a few things before we start working on the archive.
Let me walk you to your hotel, Miss Berg.
Amy shrugged in agreement. We said goodbye to them. Killian and I were the only two left. When our colleagues left, Killian gently took me by my arm and silently led me back into the meeting room. Silence fell between us. Killian looked at me again, but softer this time. A smile appeared on his lips. Don't be mad at me, that compliment sounded better in my head. Was that really a compliment? Sort of. No, it wasn't. I simply shook my head, walked over to a chair, and sat down exhausted. Killian sat next to me. I tried to hide my smile. He seemed more laid back than usual, a rare sight when it came to him. While usually he looked focused and serious, today he seemed calm and relaxed. The work we have ahead of us is not going to be fun. Digging through murder department archives is not going to be a walk in the park. Can you handle this? I'll do... You shouldn't even need to ask. I don't have a choice, do I? Amala, you look tired. Is everything okay? I only shrugged, gloomily looking down at my hands. I don't know. I think I'm starting to lose it. What? Myself. Okay, I'll just dump into the deep end. Maybe he's really worthy of my trust. What's going on? I feel like I'm going insane. It's like I became fragile all of a sudden. I can't even trust my own eyes. Everything seems so surreal. He looked at my face thoughtfully, as if he wanted to read my thoughts and feelings. I was silent, not wanting to joke anymore, pretend to be strong, or hide my fear behind a smile. Our case was taking us deeper and deeper into an abyss. I realized that it was going to be challenging for me. It was really hard to tell reality from my visions, and I didn't even know if they were actually visions or just my sick mind playing tricks on me. Killian's broad hand rested on top of my cold fingers. He covered my hands with his warm, slightly rough palm. Uncertain, I looked up at Killian, and I met his piercing silver eyes. You seem troubled. Don't make me worry. Tell me what's going on. I gathered my strength, and I needed it to say it all out loud. I feel weak. It's like I'm out of control, and it's driving me crazy. You can't control everything. It also took me a long time to get used to it. You don't understand. This is not a figure of speech. I'm really scared that I might be going insane. Why would you think that? I tightly pressed my lips together in a narrow line, about to say something that I never told anyone before, when I saw his worried look. Telling him everything seemed like the right decision. It was not my mind that spoke, but my heart. I was somewhere on the other side of the planet in India, sitting with a man whom I only had known for a few days. But the words started pouring out on their own. Well, my grandmother, she's not quite well. And something was wrong with my mother, too. Now I feel and see things that make me wonder whether I'm losing my mind, too. He didn't say a word, he just looked at me without interrupting, he just let me talk. I made an effort to continue speaking, my voice trembled. What if I'm really not well? What if these horrors that surround us bring me to the point of no return? Killian, I'm scared. I don't want that to happen to me. He looked at me, his eyes glistening with regret. His strong fingers gripped my hands tighter. Then slow down and step aside for a while. I'll do everything myself. I don't want to step aside. And I don't want you to feel so bad. He hesitated, confused. He wanted to help me somehow, but didn't know how to do so. However, his velvety low voice spoke again. Amala, don't torture yourself. This will only make it worse. For both of us. I shook my head, freeing my hands. Your honesty has brought you closer. I'm sorry I dumped all this on you. It's hard for me to keep it all bottled up sometimes. Please don't apologize for this. We sat together in silence for a while longer, when then I slowly got up, straightening my clothing. Maybe we should get out of here. Rose won't like us sitting here like this, doing nothing. He literally let you have the day off, but sure. You're probably right. After a little more small talk, Killian and I left the meeting room. He offered to accompany me home, but I had some errands I wanted to take care of. I politely refused. Killian didn't insist and bid me good day. I went inside into the scorching midday sun. So the library that Miss Kahan mentioned. I need to go there and I'll talk to the Brahmins later if I can find them. Maybe Ratan can help me get in touch with them. In the meantime, I will look into the information in the National Library. What's on the agenda? Shaktism, Shaivism, and Vaishnavism. Religious symbols, tantras, ancient rituals. Fun as usual. I walked away from the embassy, planning to have lunch and then catch a taxi. Finally, I'll get some answers. I'm sure I'll find something in the main library in India. Rate it. 2 independence, 1 loyalty, 4 respect, and 0 rage or kindness. And diamonds. Well, once again, thank you all for watching. Hopefully you all did enjoy. Let me know your thoughts, as always. I do want to know of them and really respect and care about when you do leave a comment and your thoughts, really. Once again, thanks for watching. Love your beautiful faces, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace out.